Welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith. Alright, we're pulling off the blade here because we got a new set of bearings and stuff. We want to reset our bearings, but we want to set them with a new blade. And we're getting ready to pull this blade off of here because we got our coolant going. We are going to have to do a modification and create a baffle that's going to keep the fluid into the tray. It does tend to want to drip off the tail end of the saw right here. That's an issue we want to deal with, but we got the pump going and we actually got the adjustment going in and out, but we're going to pull off the blade, we're going to change the rollers out, and we're going to get the thing to where it's actually functioning as a saw, and we can start making some test cuts and stuff. Alright, we're pulling out the blade, we pull it off of here. And of course, this is no practice run. This is the first time I've taken one off of here. Alright, you got a blade. First off, before we actually fold that one down, because I want to compare it to our new blade. Now, I bought two new blades, and I bought them, they're different from each other. One's a 4.6 and one's a 6.10. And what that means is the size or the amount of teeth that are engaged per inch. And you can see that this is the 4.6 and this is the 6.10. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put in the finer one here, and we'll put the 4.6 back in there. And we'll be changing these out time to time depending on what material we're cutting. We're going to be cutting smaller diameter items. We're going to be cutting it with this, or thin gauge materials. If we've got long cuts, we're going to go ahead and we'll put in that 4.6. Now, before I go this, you always should open blades with a pair of gloves. They're pretty easy to handle when they're in that coil, but when you got to start letting them out, and I like to go ahead and find out which coil here is I can let go like that. Alright, now looks like we did pretty good. Looks like maybe the hope we're not too small, or that one has shrunk. Now I'll show you how I actually coil a blade, and I like to just put it down on the ground with my foot on it and grab it with my hand and give it one twist as you're going down. Alright, so you let your blade out. Roll your blade in. Alright, we'll put the twist ties on here, and we'll put this one in the box there. This actually looks closer to the 610 blade than the other one. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and get this in here and around. Just let's put it in with the teeth down. And you kind of want to glance at it because, you know, every once in a while one of these blades is actually welded and put together inside out, and you can inside this thing out. We had welder San Diego, hey, they made the blade backwards, and you come out there and yeah, sure enough, the teeth were pointing up, okay, but he thought, and it was like the last blade or something, so we had to go out there and we had to show him how to inside out a blade. Alright, so just a note there that blades can be inside out. Don't tell me I ordered too short a blade. Well, that's what I did. Feet 5 3/4. All right, we come back out here tonight because we got the blades in that we had to reorder. This time we went ahead and we upgraded to Lennox blades here, so we're going to go ahead and pull one of these blades out of the box here. And of course they had to tape the boxes too. All right. I think I want to put on this. We're going to put on 610. The other one's a 4/6. We were talking about that on the other blades there. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pull this one back off here first. And the same thing, put your foot on the bottom blade, just grab it up here at the top and give it a twist, and it brings it right down into the loop, okay? We're going to put a keeper on that later, but right now we're just going to lay it there. Huh. I got a little note here that says turn. I don't know if that's turn right or that's the turn. All right. Made in the USA. Nice looking blade. It's got the part number right in it. Put my other glove on here. This is how you usually get stabbed. You know, this is a little bit different than my 4.5 or 4'5" blade that runs on my little Delta there. These rollers might need to be a little bit of adjustment there. Yeah, it's always the last one, right? Okay, we're going to be, as soon as this blade is tight, we're going to be adjusting these rollers, or I mean, we're actually going to be putting new rollers in here. Alright, give it some tension. Okay, now this has a tension or indicator here when you have enough tension on it, but I want to go ahead and I want to bump it and roll it around here just to get the Alright, I'm happy with the rollers. Okay, now I can crank this in till the indicator comes up to the full tension. And where it's at right now. Alright, so we got the blade on, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start in on our bearings there. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this old blade right in the box here. We're going to put the zip ties on here. Alright, go ahead and get set up, and we're going to move the cameras around here so you can get in here and you can see a little bit more on replacing the bearings here on the two guides, front and the adjustable one and the stationary. Alright, kind of going to get on this side here, and this inside roller's got to come off of here first. Alright, we lost a washer that went behind, and your bearing, and there's the shaft. Okay, now we want to go ahead and verify the bearings matching, and it fits. Got butterfingers there tonight. It don't feel bad. I can feel, oh, that feels good. That one feels bad now. That's always the way it is. You know, you can psych yourself up to. Alright, this inside one's got a cam here, but it has a nut that tightens up here on the inside, okay? And alright, and it fits the bore good. And we'll wipe off the washer here. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull the next bearing off of there, and I think this, oh, I'm glad because I didn't want to have to run that wrench in there. Alright, same thing, washers on the outside. You do have to hang on to these things. The bearing went down in the goop, which you know, you can see the sulfur base cutting oil and all that sitting in the tray, and you know what, the tray is not rusting. Oh, okay, now this one here, this is the pressure roller at the back of the blade, and it does have a little bit of a scoring going on there. Oh, I feel a little bit, but you know, nothing that I didn't expect. That's why I wanted to start fresh with new bearings. Alright, I'm just grabbing the other two bearings that are going to be the support. We're going to verify that they are the right size. And then we'll pull that last one off of there. We're going to go around to the other side to pull that one off. And we're going to clean up kind of the little housing there and make sure. Let's leave that out. I think we're going to need it again. Alright, visually fits up to it. fits in there. Alright, and wipe off the washer again. Alright, and that one's ready to go back in. Alright, so let's go to the other side. Okay, now this is what's kind of baffling me about this adjustment here, is this has got a cam in it too, but this one shouldn't have a cam. This one should be straight, or fairly straight. It does have a cam on it. I wonder if both of those down there have a cam on them and somebody didn't just happen to put the wrong one. You would think that one bolt would be stationary and the other one would have a cam, but they may be just manufacturing all of them the same. And I'm just going to crack this one loose to see if, yeah, that one cams as well. Alright. See, the thing is this one here has got a Titan, and it stays in one location. The other one adjusts to where this one is. Alright, go ahead and we'll get our next bearing out here. Not that this is a hard job or anything. The thing is, after this is the adjustment, and it should be pretty straightforward, but I would have thought it has a slight cam too, just not much. See, there's no way to adjust that one, so that has to stay just like that. Alright, the other one will adjust into it. We may have to adjust these side to side, I don't know, but right now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get it adjusted so that the blade is setting in between the rollers with the right amount of clearance, which is hardly any. Alright, now we slide this one in place. There we go. Alright, now we can get the ratchet on it. Alright. And that one also is straight in. Okay, so you can't mess those two up. Okay, now this next one here is the one that actually cams into Alright, and this one here gets a nut on the top, and that's what does the adjustment side to side. You know, this really bites because in all reality, how do you actually tighten that one there? You know. All right, we're gonna go ahead and fire it off. Double check that. Now I can't stop that wheel, so I want to grab it again. There we go. Okay, I can just start to stop it. Okay, now I know that you can force it and stop it, and we're not too much pressure on that, you know, the feel of the bearing. Okay, be careful you don't get your hand caught in there. All right, but at least I know by feel that I have that adjusted just right. All right, and right now this top bearing here, I can also stop that one, so we're doing good there. The back side of the blade doesn't cut your finger. All right, let's go for that end down there. We pulled out our bearings out of the front here. We got our 3 bearings ready to go back in here, and this is pretty well all cleaned up. The roller that rides on the top there, same as the one that was in the rear there. We got a good score there, and this one feels a lot worse than the other 3. I got 3 in a plastic bag. I'm a pack rat. I'm going to put them in for emergency on hand. Bearings aren't expensive. Well, unless you go to, you know, your local auto parts store. Bearings have got a humongous markup on them. All right, and anyway, the other 2 that really guide this are up here in the front, and this is where all the debris hits. Okay, now here's something that's very interesting, and one of these bearings was already changed out to a USA bearing with a rubber lip seal, and moisture still got in here, and there's also controversy of whether rubber lip seals actually work well on a saw, because you got the filings and stuff, and if you've ever seen some of the stuff you get cutting in a saw and it gets to wrapping around these guide wheels and stuff, this has straightforward wood brush wipers here. They're worn out, and I'm gonna see about doing something, because I also want it to drip the fluid or the cutting oil off of it before it gets down to the other end. I do have a drip issue down there I have to address, so I can't just automatically let this coolant just flood, because I am using kerosene and cutting oil, and it's not like I got soluble oil, but even soluble oil you don't want dripping all over the place either. Anyway, this rubber lip seal, I can still feel a little bit of debris, a little catching in there, and this one here definitely is the same thing. So I'm trying to get into a good habit, throw away junk. There's no way you can get in there and rebuild it. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to hold the saw blade over this way here, and there we go. It was hard. We wiped most of the hair off on that. Okay. And that's the one that you can adjust, so you got to tighten it in just like that. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and we got to put the center one in here. And it's a little tricky, not bad, but you got to get it in it because that washer's in on the back side there, and you got to try to keep that behind there as you get this started into the hole. on here, and the best way is to offset it so that it's facing towards you. Take your hand and twist the blade so you can get that right up in there. I always like to look at the nut, see which way it was on there, because you want to keep the threads on a nut or a bolt will get stretched in one direction, and you want to kind of keep that stretch always in that same direction there so that your load doesn't shift on it. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and adjust this in. Until we can get a twist on here. Okay, I can just start to get a twist. Now we're going to lock it right there. That. I tell you what though, this is what I call piss poor design. There we go. Alright. Yep, alright. Test it. Okay, and I can stop it when I hold it on the side. Alright, that's it for setting up the blades and new bearings, and we're ready to clean up our mess. We have a couple other things to do with the saw. We got to handle it. We got to lock on the vise hand wheel, and we may have to play with a couple other things in here on the adjustment. But tomorrow we got to do something about the coolant going down there. But tomorrow we should be cutting our very first part in here. We actually have about 3 jobs for this saw already. Not that they're going to be long running jobs. We have probably 3 items that need to be cut in this saw. So, all right. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes luck goes bad, and sometimes luck really goes good. And we took the knob or the handle off of this one and put it up there on the thread because this plastic handle down here, it really didn't look like something you'd want to crank on it, but it does work fine for the adjustment up there. And a collection of stuff that one of our friends just dropped off and gave us was an old collection of stuff he has, and this is a real old flat belt drive off of something, I don't know, and I reached over and I go, I wish that would fit right on there. Well, I grabbed it and I put it right on there, and it's exactly the right size for both those steps. This is step 2 different diameters, and this has got 2 different diameters here, and it's like the freaking thing just went right on there. So then I just grabbed it just before, I'm all set up ready to cut here, and of course it has a hole going through here, and that originally was a taper pin. I know that's how an old timer would put it, and that taper pin would come through there at an angle like that. Alright, and that's how they fit and located. There's also a little keyway in here, hand filed from the side, like an angle right there. So there was a couple different things. I don't know what this actually was off of. It does have a couple of numbers, but regardless, this is going to be the perfect handle. So you know what? I said, it looks like there's threads in there. So I went inside and I grabbed a 1/4-20, and it went in right by hand. And I go, oh, it's already tapped out. So I blew it out and cleaned it out. I grabbed a 1/4-20 set screw, and it's threaded perfect for a 1/4-20. And that dimple right there looks like it's exactly in the right spot. So we're just going to go ahead, make sure that we hit that dimple. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten up the set screw. And there's our handle. Alright, and we don't need a Brody knob or a speed knob on here because that vise is an auto release, and then you can slide it and then you can just crank the handle and it grabs a hold of it again. Well, make me a liar. It probably needs some lubrication. You know what? I feel something broke underneath there, so I'm going to have to play with that because it looks like you can flip it sideways and it slides, and you flip it the other way and it locks in there. Okay. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to play with that, but I can get this to lock here now. Alright. There's one more thing that we got to fix on this Chinese machine here. Okay, we've got some pallet boards, split pallet boards underneath this end over here, and we got a screw jack under the other end. The saw is leveled out. We have a couple milk crates and a board over here, so we're holding the part. We definitely want a positive flow if any of the coolant comes out of here. We have a little guard here, and we have a little guard over there. We're going to have to be doing something with this because we can't have any of our fluids leaking out. Even if we were doing water soluble, we'd have to do something different. You just can't have water soluble going onto the ground. So anyway, we're going to go ahead, and I think that's locked down there. We're fully adjusted. I'm doing 125 surface feet a minute, is what the pulley says there, and this is a what did I say this was? I said it last night there. This is a 610 blade in here, and this is 6-inch I-beam, and the web is like a 1/4 inch or pretty close to it. Alright, and we're just going to give it a minute amount of feed. We're sitting there. This is an 8-degree cut off the end. Alright, and we got a little coolant. Very first cut with our saw. That's good. That's returning oil over there. It kind of gives us an idea of what we got. Now you can see the oil is dribbling right alongside the edge there, and then coming right down in the pan there, and it's going right back into the sump. So I'm going to have to do something in that area, but right now that is taking care of it. So let's go back to our cut here. We do have it pretty well leveled because the fluid's not really going down the I-beam a lot. Probably give it just a little bit more speed, but I don't have to push it. Hey, how about that? That is one nice square cut. All right, there's looking down at the cut, and you can see, you know, there is no gap here. I mean, I've had a lot of saws that cut off at an angle, and it definitely a nice job. And my my problem back here, I mean, I didn't drip. That's actually a little bit of splash that was there from before when I first fired it off, and found out that I had a little bit of splash there. So those retained it in there. This one here retained it perfectly fine, and we did have it nice and level. We only had juice flow back about not even to the edge of the saw quite, you know what I mean? Alright, and raise up our saw here, and you know, that gives you a nice clear shot. Alright, you know, we can't hate that. So let's go ahead and we're gonna square off our jaws after we check this angle on here, and then we're gonna just cut it off to length, and then we'll be ready to go start welding this beam together. Well, it's the end of another week here, and Friday night here. We just got done coming out. A little bit warmer on the side pad eye right here. This was the first piece that I cut in my saw, and there's going to be many more to be cut in the saw. But what's really great about it is I was able to make that cut and not have to do anything else. It was ready to weld after I cut it. 8 degrees was pretty important because the beam that this mounts to is not going to change, and it has to be plumb. This is going to be a stiff arm support for a chain fall. Of course, it's only going to be handling and lifting up components that have to do with grapes and the grape squishers and a couple other things like that. But we also, I mean, you overkill everything that you make usually anyway. At least that's good practice. The end piece here, and that'll dress off the end of the beam, keep the trolley from going off. If you choose to do a trolley, you could just use a beam clamp. And then I got the eye here, and this pad here can mount up farther on the beam here, or on the one overhead above that. It's in a big warehouse, so you can grab a couple shackles, chain, turnbuckle, and you got the whole shoot and bang ready to go. Get her done.